Hello viewers, and welcome to my Livestock Stories series on Livestock Trends TV. I am Oloruntobi Olusegun. On this program, we document livestock stories of livestock farmers in Africa. We hear their beginnings, how they started, their challenges, we hear their success stories, we hear their opinion, their innovations, and more importantly, their demand to policymakers and government parastatals, and also to the global community. On this program, we believe that by showcasing what farmers are doing around Africa, young people would be interested in participating in livestock farming. We also believe that this program would encourage and motivate gender inclusion in livestock farming. And also, it's also going to be a source of input for policy reforms as suitable for livestock sector. And today, I am on Abak Farm in Oyo State, Southwest Nigeria. And with me today is Mr. Akande Abdullahi, the founder and CEO of Abak Farm. Mr. Akande, thank you very much for joining me today, sir.
Yes, sir. You are welcome to Abak Farm.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. What do you farm on Abak Farm, and how did you venture into livestock farming?
Okay, at Abak Farm, we farm ruminant animals and poultry birds. Poultry birds, which includes broiler, broiler, turkey, etc.
So how did you start? How did you venture into livestock farming?
Actually, while I was young, while in primary school, my uncle has a lot of local chickens. So there was a day he came to our house and I told him to give me chicken. So he gave me two, a male and a female, and I started rearing. I noticed within few months, they started multiplying. When they started multiplying, this motivates me to put energy into it. So when I left primary school, I went to a boarding house, Federal Government College, Odumosho. So there is no way I can run my local chicken production. So I have to sell them off. So when I left secondary school, I gained admission. I told you earlier that my uncle gave me local chickens, and that was what ignites my passion for agribusiness. So since then, when I passed my JAMB and my whole level, I thought about what I could do in order to be self-employed, and I decided to go for animal science at the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. Then there was a time when there is ASU strike. That was 2013, if I'm not mistaken. I think it took, I've forgotten the number of months. So I had to go and meet Mrs. Omilowo. She has a very good farm. So I decided to go and understudy under her. From there, I gained experience about how to do it professionally. After gaining experience on how to do it professionally, then after my university, my NYSC, I wanted to go into farming straight. Then my dad advised me to go for my master's also in animal science. After doing my master's, then I decided to venture into it full.
Wow, that was a great story. Now, can you tell us, ever since you started this farm, what are your challenges? What are the struggles that you encountered while starting and even doing the process, and even to date? What were the challenges?
You know, as a starter, definitely you have a lot of challenges. I don't really have people around me to mentor me. I would have gone for Mrs. Omilowo, but she's a very busy woman. So I don't have anybody to mentor me. I was doing it based on the experience I had at Omilowo's farm, but I noticed farming entails more than that. There are a lot of challenges we face on our broiler production, CLD, COXZ. We lost a number of birds. But one thing about me is that whenever I face a challenge, I try to learn from my mistake. So when I learned from my mistake, I started correcting myself, and today I'm very good in broilers production and ruminant production, poultry production and ruminant production generally.
Thank you for that. You were telling us about some of the challenges you have with your staff members. Can you let us shed more light on that?
Something about workers is that most of them are very deadly if you are not around, if you are an absentee farmer. As for me, I'm not an absentee farmer, That's a fact. But when you have if you want to farm, you have to dedicate a lot of time, and you have to sacrifice a lot of things. There was a time I didn't have a worker on this farm. I was sleeping inside the pen house. I brooded broiler on my own, only me inside in the middle of the forest, you understand. But because I have passion for this thing, then when I had a worker from the start, he did well, exceptionally well, and I'm very happy. Well, one thing I have noticed is that if you want to get a worker, you don't get it around your community. You bring your worker from outside. When you bring the worker from outside, then when you see that he has started mixing with people in the community, then there will be strange behaviors, because they will be teaching him or her. Then you have to change the person. So that's my experience about workers. You have to bring them from outside. When you see that they've already started mixing with the people in the community, you change them immediately.
Okay, so what about acquisition of land, acquisition of materials? How was it when you started? Did you get a land when you started, or you were given a land, or you borrowed a land? How did you do that?
Actually, I was given a land by my dad.
Okay.
Then I was given a land by my dad, and he supported me with amount of money in order to start our poultry pen. Then from there, I started adding knowledge, adding value to myself, and people started consulting me, and they started paying me. Then from there, I started building my farm.
Wow. How the cost of production is high now. How have you been coping with your production? What are the methods techniques you've been using to mitigate against the high cost of production?
Okay. Now what we do generally is that we do organic farming for our broiler. We know in Nigeria, 100% organic farming is not practical, in the sense that the feed you are feeding, definitely they would have used fertilizer on the maize and some of the ingredient that is being used. But we don't vaccinate our birds here. We use organic products in order to raise our animals, our birds. And by using organic products, it's the cost of medication reduced drastically. Then for the feed, we know finished feed is very expensive, so we have some formulas in which we use for our birds at a lower cost. Then for the ruminants, we know ruminants generally, they like pasture, they like grasses. That's their natural feed. So we try to establish pasture for them, so when they graze during the rainy season, when there is abundance in the rainy season that they can't finish, we turn it into hay. Then we introduce it to them during dry spell, when there is no enough feed for them to feed on. We also use BDG and sometimes cassava peel.
I'm still speaking with Mr. Akande Abdullahi, the founder and the CEO of Abak Farm here in Oyo State, southwest Nigeria. And I must also let you know that Mr. Akande Abdullahi is a registered animal scientist. Okay, so Mr. Akande, I have the next question for you. Okay, so now I would like to know, have you ever gotten any support from any government or any corporate entity ever since you started this farm?
Capital no.
Capital no.
Yes.
Wow. So if I'm going to ask you today, if you would need support, what kind of support do you think you would need as a farmer, as a livestock farmer in Nigeria?
As a farmer, we know everything boils down to money. Once you have the expertise, the next thing is for you to have money in order to carry out all these activities. So everybody know every business needs funds. So if there is fund, I'll be very happy in order to expand my business.
Fund. So are you saying that if government would want to give you irrigation kits to irrigate your paddock or your pastoral land, or they want to help you with some put some infrastructure on your farm, maybe good water source, good electricity, or what have you, you would prefer funds to that, or you would also accept that from the government or corporate entity?
I can accept both. that's the truth. I can accept both.
Okay, you can accept
if they can supply me irrigation facility, that will be fine. And if they give me fund as well. You know, something about agribusiness is that you will always invest. So you always need money. You know, the populace is becoming big, and what do we feed on? We feed on agricultural produce. So no amount is too high. You understand what I'm saying? So that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. I also want to ask you, there is issues around climate change. There are concerns around climate change in recent time globally, and a lot of farmers have started feeling the effects of climate change on their production.
Okay.
And how have you been able to handle issues like heat stress on your ruminants or on your poultry? How have you been able to handle issues like other issues around climate change generally?
Okay, let me talk about heat stress, because it do affect my broilers a lot in the past, you understand. Then what we try to do is that there is a solar system in our poultry unit. Okay. So we bought a solar fan. Then we placed it at the point where we do have mortality due to heat stress. Okay. So the solar will be charging during the day. Once it is charging, we on the fan, and we don't have mortality about heat stress.
Okay, so Mr. Akande Abdullahi, what advice would you give to a young farmer, a young Nigerian that wants to go into livestock farming, maybe small ruminants or poultry? Okay,
what I will advise them is that they should have someone to mentor them. They should go for trainings, and they should have passion for it. Their motive should not be because of money. When they have passion for it, money will follow. Alright, that's what I can advise them.
Okay. And that will be all on today's edition of my Livestock Story Series. Do join us again for another interesting episode in our next edition. Remember to follow us on all of our social media handles, on Facebook, on Instagram, on X, Livestock Trend, and on YouTube, it is Livestock Trend TV. Remember to subscribe and click the notification button so that anytime we upload the next interesting episode, you would be notified. Thank you very much. I am Oloruntobi Olusegun. See you some other time.